Guys, welcome to your program Development Zone, where we celebrate achievers, unveil the core potential of our nation, and also celebrate those who have contributed immensely to the growth of our country. Today on the program, we'll be talking agriculture, and our guest on the program today is Professor Mohammed Kuta. Yahaya. He is the Secretary, Presidential Livestock Reform Committee. He will be unveiling to us the way forward in the livestock sector and how he has contributed immensely to make the livestock and agricultural sector of our nation to drive the nation's GDP. Sit back, relax, I'll be right back.
The Presidential Livestock Reforms Implementation Committee was inaugurated by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the 9th of July 2024 with the mandate to, in terms of reference, to work holistically the reforms of the livestock sector as a whole. And we are charged with about 16 terms of reference, and the committee is swinging into action and develop 22 objectives and 119 reform objectives. And we are guided by those, and part of it was the creation of the Ministry of Livestock Development. And Mr. President had already, on that day of inauguration, pronounced the establishment of the ministry, and that the committee worked assiduously to produce a blueprint for the transformation of the livestock sector, reforms that will be game changer in the livestock sector in our country. And based on those privileged opportunities, the inception report was submitted to Mr. President on September 19, 2024, and he was delighted and was happy with what we have done. And at the end of the day, the committee, as a fallout of that inception report, required that we must have a sensitization of stakeholders. And the stakeholders were very, very elaborate, and we had a stakeholders conversation that took place between October 23rd and 24th at the Presidential Villa Banquet Hall. At that retreat, Mr. President declared it open, and all the stakeholders across the entire livestock value chain, from dairy to beef to poultry to piggery to research institutes like NAPRI, National, also MVRI, VOM, everybody that you can imagine across Nigeria were in the Presidential Villa with over 350 to 400 delegates. After the thorough brainstorming session, we came up with far-reaching recommendations, and the proceedings were very, very instructive on what way forward for the Nigerian livestock sector. So I think by and large, this committee has become the catalyst for the needed game-changing dimensions in the Nigerian livestock sector, with the ministry already fully taken off. And by leave of Mr. President, who is the chairman of the committee himself, and made Professor Tairu Jega the co-chairman, and other 23 members. The President has Professor Tairu Jega the co-chairman, and my humble self to join him in a trip to the G20 in Brazil, where we had opportunity at the sidelines to engage and visit some successful models of the livestock sector in our country, in Brazil. We visited the JBS and other, flourishing livestock sector players. JBS, arguably the largest beef exporter in the world, and chicken, we're very delighted to see what wonders they are doing. Slaughtering 1,200 heads of cattle every day was a very, exciting moment for all of us that went from Nigeria to understudy what they're doing. And by the grace of God, the JBS team signed a letter of intent with the federal government of Nigeria to invest $2.5 billion in Nigeria. And they followed through. By December, a technical team had come from Brazil to see what is happening and the potentials of Nigeria. And they were very excited and impressed. And by February this year, another team of the executives and major investors were in Nigeria to see for themselves. And it was very wonderful experience to see what they have seen. And just a few days ago, another team from Brazil who are ready to invest came to Nigeria and visited Niger State, the owner of JBJ. JBJ is a subsidiary of JBS. They are for the same family. It's a family enterprise, but now public liability company. JBJ Chief Executive is arguably the largest rancher in the world, with over 500,000 heads of cattle, 500,000, and over 50,000 cattle breeding, or just 50,000. So when you see somebody with 100 heads of cattle and say he's doing very well, you can imagine what that means. Or somebody with 1,000 heads of cattle, all local breeds, and they say they are doing well. This man has 500,000. He was in Mina to see what the farmer governor is doing and to see the available opportunities in Niger State. We just came back, and he was there precisely on Monday, 24th of March, and it was gratifying. They were impressed with the information that were available on land availability and GIS database that Niger State provided. Part of the mandate of the committee was to see how we can reduce farmer-herders conflict. It's part of the mandate of terms of reference, and we have come up with elaborate strategic options for government, including the option of ranching, including the option of conflict mitigation or resolution mechanisms, particularly using of traditional rulers to mitigate or to interface with people, because oftentimes we have the case of cattle routes that have been taken over by urbanization or expanding farms, and also we talk about grazing reserves that were either to reserve for grazing by livestock. Most of them have been encroached, and where they are not encroached, some of them are not gazetted, and there are a lot of issues around that. So they continue to create more conflict among the people. So I believe that these are some of the issues that we need to address. It will interest you to know that I just delivered the 45th University Lecture at the University of Ibadan for over 3 weeks. And the topic of my lecture is decolonization of food security for enduring multi-sectoral pathways for poverty mitigation. You know, there are a lot of issues on the ground, and that part of it is an hungry man, they say, is an angry man. Many nations today have conquered hunger and poverty. I saw that in Brazil, firsthand, and I know that the game changer was moving from agrarian to industrial and commercial agriculture. We as a country were still operating peasantry. In fact, even our students, I alluded in my lecture that even our students in the university system are still using hoes and cutlasses to train as agricultural students. It's not acceptable. When the rest of the world are moving towards AI and mechatronics and deep micro mechanization schemes and opportunities like hand tillers, you are still training students using hoes and cutlasses, and that is common to all universities in Nigeria. Where universities cannot afford to buy tractor for students to use, they cannot afford to buy hand tillers, and nobody is doing anything about it. I felt it's a disservice to even training the manpower that will drive our agriculture. And that in the same breath, you realize that we have become a nation that has become a dumping ground for virtually everything, even what we can produce. And Nigeria's test for foreign goods is legendary. Patriotism has been thrown to the dogs, and I believe this is where I highlighted the opportunities that are available, especially giving good examples in Nigeria, where the Niger governor, the farmer governor, is changing the narratives with mechanized agricultural system and advancing frontiers in livestock sector development. The same thing in Borno State. The governor of Borno State is Governor Zulum. Is doing a great job in terms of rehabilitation and humanitarian services vis-a-vis combating the insecurity head-on. So I gave an example of the agribusiness in Oyo State, how it is encouraging young people, catch them young into agriculture. But by and large, the bottom line of my submission then was that livestock was to the rescue, because livestock has huge potential that has been undertapped and invested and that nobody is talking about. we have shifted all interventions, all support system to crop farmers at the expense of livestock farmers. Even that's why, you consider anybody, you think if you talk about livestock, the only thing that comes to your mind psychologically is a Fulani man with his hat. Nobody is talking about poultry that is over 21 million now. In Nigeria, it was developed, it's becoming modernized. Before, you depend on bush and village people to bring poultry chickens to the town. But now you can have access eggs, you can access meat, all products from poultry, modern poultry system. They intensively, produced. So we're looking forward to livestock transformation, whereby the intensity of production will be intensive, will also be modernized, and that this is why we are talking about enhanced productivity, whereby we are talking about our cattle giving 1.2 liters per day, while for other clients are talking about 45 to 60 liters per day. So you can imagine if you increase productivity, it will be the game changer, so that they can produce and then earn more money for the economy. Nigeria imports an average of $1.5 billion of milk every year from small countries that are not even up to Niger state size. So that means if what the Brazilians are trying to do, bring in 100,000 heads of cattle to start on a space of 100,000 hectares to see if they can go into massive beef production, it will be a game changer in terms of employment opportunity, job creation, and prosperity for the people. You can have outgrowers who can grow pasture, people can go into pasture business and make money, because you grow, people buy it and offtake from you. Because when you produce animals, you make money, you sell, you make money, and that's all.
Welcome back again for my guest and personal Professor Mohammed Kuta Yahaya. He has took out time to outline what the Mr. President is doing in the livestock sector so as to transform the nation's GDP and also to create more job opportunity for you and I. Till I come your way again, I remain your host, Joseph Uzuapon. Bye for now.